everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with my coworker Jordan Bianchi. We are motorsports writers for The Athletic, and we are at two different racetracks right now. The rare time of year where we are broadcasting, not one of us from home, not one of us from the track, not both of us at the same track, but two different racetracks. I am at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where Robert Schwarzman has taken a shocking pole position for the Indy 500. Jordan is at North Wilkesboro, where Christopher Bell has maybe won in a less shocking way. But we're certainly going to start with North Wilkesboro, Jordan. How's it going there in the Shine Shack in the infield at North Wilkesboro?
Shine Shack is treating me well. Love this little thing. I don't know what you thought of the race. I think we agree. I think our expectations for this race were probably lower for various reasons. I walked away pretty entertained by it, and I thought we saw a competitive all-star race, one of the more competitive all-star races we've seen in recent memory. That said, we'll get to that in a minute. What did you think of the promoter's caution, Jeff, and Michael Waltrip up in the flag stand?
We'll get to that later. Let's talk about the race. I do agree with you. I mean, 18 lead changes for an all-star race. I'm pretty sure there's been all-star races at Charlotte Motor Speedway that had 0 lead changes. One of those like short stint, remember those like shootout style things or something? Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but there's been such snoozer, stinker all-star races that were so boring and so bad. And so, especially with the short track package, to go to North Wilkesboro, which again is relatively newly repaved, and get a surprisingly good all-star race. I agree with what Christopher Bell said. Best short track in NASCAR right now. It certainly is. How can you argue with that? I mean, you had, I think you had what you wanted to see. It was really weird how, I don't know if you picked up on this or you could hear what they were talking about on the broadcast, but Fox Sports was just hammering. Oh, do you want a points race here? Maybe a points race here. Should there be a points race here? I mean, they were just like, it was like not subtle at all. You know what I'm saying? What's up with that?
Sure. That has been a popular topic this weekend of what is North Wilkesboro's future. I think let's just get this out there. It's going to remain on the schedule in some facet, whether it hosts the continues to host the all-star race or does it deserve a point race. And that was what people were talking about this weekend, because what you see at a lot of tracks, any new facility that's really come on, usually by the third year, what happens? The crowd support kind of dims a little bit. The enthusiasm and the support isn't there. Tonight was a sold-out crowd. It was packed, and the crowd was jacked. There was a lot of energy before the race, during the race, even after the race. There was a lot of fans chanting for Bell and Ross Chastain. Like, that's what you want to see. So why would you not want to see a points race here? Like, why not? What would be the downside of this? I mean, the fans have turned out. It's obviously the support is there. The racing quality was pretty good tonight. I also think that if you add 20 more cars on this racetrack, which you would have for a full points race, that would help as well, because you get them in traffic a little bit. More pit strategy. I don't think it's a bad idea, and I think the conversation probably needs to be had about the future of North Wilkesboro on the schedule, and whether it's a points race or whether it's the all-star race.
And what would you prefer?
I'm in the camp of why not. Here's my idea. Can I throw an idea at you that you're gonna this may be
because tell me how it all would fit into the puzzle, because obviously you have to have an all-star race somewhere. So
yeah, I mean so let me answer your question first, and then I'm going to kind of go in a different direction with my answer, with my opinion. What do you do with the all-stars? I don't know. I mean, is that something that moves around to do you move it where you move it? I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard any conversations about this. Here is my idea. You are going to have 38 races each year. Okay. And right now it's 36 points races, 2 exhibitions. Why do we need 2 exhibition races that are largely interchangeable? Why not just 1 exhibition race, make it more of a bigger deal, more unique, move that around, Bowman Gray, Brazil, wherever you want to do it. Why not have 37 points races and make this a points race instead?
I don't really have an argument as to why not, I guess.
I, because I go back to your question, like your question about where to put the All-Star race, like there isn't really an idea. I mean, Rockingham was maybe kicked around a little bit as an idea. Okay. But you don't have lights there. So you're running that race in a Sunday afternoon. I don't know if that's really what Fox wants. I mean, this is prime time and this is what they want to see. So you're kind of limited there. And that place needs a little bit of sprucing up as well. So that is the only track that immediately comes to mind as a possible site for the All-Star race. So if your options are kind of limited, make this just go 37-1.
So you would just have an exhibition race to open the season before Daytona.
Or you can move the exhibition
race.
You can move the exhibition race in the middle of the year. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be at the beginning of the year. You'd have to figure that out. That you have to, how you work that out. But I don't think it's the worst idea in the world.
Well, listen, there's not very many short tracks that race very well right now, and this seems to be one of them for whatever reason. So even if the high line was dominant or whatever it was going to be, I mean, it seemed like you could race side by side, or at least, I mean, it wasn't just like you were stuck behind people. Again, 18 lead changes for an all-star race, a fairly short race. That's a lot. So, I don't see any problems with here. I don't see anything that needs to be sort of fixed here, but I guess if you want a points race, that's fine. I thought it was maybe going to be a situation where, okay, you move the Clash to Brazil. Now that's not happening next year. You move the Clash to Brazil. You make Bowman Gray the All-Star race for $1 million. That would be crazy, right? Yeah. And then you make this a points race or something. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the dates are got to come from somewhere, but I don't really care. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that, and that's the other crux of this issue is, okay, let's say North Wilkesboro, we want North Wilkesboro to have a points race, and you want to keep it at 36. Where is that date coming from? And that's the struggle, is because there isn't a lot of viable places.
I mean, do you move Spring Bristol?
Bristol? No, and you do not. And I've had these conversations with people, and here's why. Even Spring Bristol what would you say Spring Bristol was this year? A quarter full, a third full?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say a third, okay? Because that's what I've heard. Even at a third full, Spring Bristol still seats more than this track. And so it still has name recognition. It still has more hotels in the area, that kind of thing. It's more fan accessible. The other thing, so that's one main reason. Two is they have a long-time entitlement sponsor in Food City that is the second longest race sponsor going right now. I think it's approaching 30 years. That's a hard thing to do to a sponsor who's been loyal to you. So no, I mean, you're not. I would be hard pressed to think that date would come from Spring Bristol.
Well, let's talk about the race itself, because I'll be honest. I was watching it and I thought, here's Christopher Bell. He's chasing down Joey Logano on older tires. Logano has older tires. And Logano is blocking his butt off, right? He's doing the defending as classic Joey, doing all the stuff he needs to do, and very admirably, right? Like I will say, I mean, he is putting up a hell of a fight for 41 lap over older tires or whatever. And I'm like, dude, it's just like, this is remarkable if he can hold him off. Now, I thought he kind of drove Bell up the track a couple times. I mean, he was making it as hard as possible for Bell to pass. Bell obviously has been on the record saying, I want to change the reputation of cup racing. I want to make it people think cleaner, that you don't have to just shove people out of the way to do it. I felt like when I'm watching Bell drive and battle with Logano, he was trying as hard as he could to, have a good, clean finish and not just bump Joey out of the way, even though Chastain was in the picture and it was starting to get some heat on him. So ultimately he makes a pass and he kind of runs Joey up after he got the position on him. And then, so I was done with the race thinking, wow, what an all-star drive by Christopher Bell, because he went out there, he took it. Logano also had an all-star effort to put up a fight there. But hey, very fair racing. I thought clean short track racing. Yeah. No issues here. And Logano gets out of the car and he's like, oh, he was going to go around. I was going to send him, the move he did, all this stuff. Like it was like Logano was just sort of outraged or incensed. It seemed like that Bell had done this. Let me look at his exact quotes. Cause he said, he released the brake and gave me no option, kind of ran me up into the wall. And if I could have got to him, he was going around after a move like that, but I just couldn't get back to him. And then he told reporters after the race on pit road that I'm seeing from the clips that, I'm just going to race him like he races me going forward and all this stuff. And I'm just like, what? I don't understand what I'm watching here. Like, did I miss something? Because I felt like Logano raced him plenty hard, moved him up the track,
blocked him.
Yeah. And like Bell, I thought Bell raced totally fine. What am I missing something? What happened here?
No, I didn't understand that either because I walked over to Logano and I heard the end of his comments and I'm like, what did I miss? Like what did I miss? Like Bell didn't do anything. Bell raced. Honestly, I think Bell raced pretty darn clean, all things considered. Like in a non-points race where it's kind of excused of you're gonna move people around and it's okay to spin somebody out. Like I don't think Bell did anything wrong. Bell, all things considered, raced him fairly clean. And let's be honest, if the shoe is on the other foot, Logano would have done the same exact thing as Bell. There's a long enough history there to suggest that. And that's not a criticism. That's who Joey Logano is. That's why he's a 3-time champion in a lot of respects. Like, I don't know how you can be critical of how Christopher Bell raced. He raced you fair. He raced you hard, but he didn't do you dirty. He didn't push you into the wall. He didn't spin you out. Like, he didn't just move you up the racetrack like aggressively. It was a pretty, all things considered, that was very on the up and up.
I thought so. I guess I need
to
hear some other
stunned
opinions.
That Logano thinks otherwise.
No, he was very.
I heard him
upset about it. Yeah, I mean, I was like, okay. Anyway, yeah. So I guess we agree on that one. The other thing I'm puzzled about here, Jordan, is why did they stay out? Why did they stay out under that caution?
I don't get that.
We saw when Larson took 2 tires, for instance. We saw the difference that made, right? We saw other people come up through the field throughout the weekend. I think even in the heat races, right? I didn't get to watch the heat races. I was trying to follow them online from Indy, but it sounded like tires made a difference there. So why, like 41 lap older tires, you're thinking that I don't understand what the call was there.
I don't either. This was a race where fresh tires mattered. Tires mattered. 4 tires mattered. We saw what happened with 2 tires. We saw what Bell did with 4 tires. Tires mattered in this race, and I thought it was interesting. Is like Logano kept the lead, but he lost control of the race. And I know track position matters to some degree. I know clean air matters, but tire wear mattered in this race, and I didn't understand it. The only thing I could think of would be if we're going to pit, there's maybe a bunch of people are going to stay out, and we're going to be buried back there. You're kind of in that island where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? If you pit, a bunch of people stay out, and you're going to be back there, and there's not enough time. I would have gone pitting though, and I go back to what Kevin Harvick says. Kevin Harvick always says, "I want to be on the attack. You give me 4 fresh tires, and I'm going to go aggressive as hard as I can." And I think in this situation, in this race, Joey Logano with 4 fresh tires is going to be very, very dangerous, and he still would have had a really good shot to win this race, even if he would have been in traffic. I didn't agree with the call.
And let's say this as well. Thank goodness that tires did matter tonight, right? Like this is again the first time we saw, this was the first place where we were seeing the option tire stuff, right? It's continued to evolve as we see it at more places. When Larson took 2 tires at one point and he got the lead with it, I was like, oh, here comes a test, right? Because he hey, if the tires aren't going to wear, and he's able to do this, a lot of the talk about, the softer tire and it's working and all this stuff, it's, but it didn't work. It just didn't. No. So, I don't think you want that to work. I don't think you want that to work at a short track. Everybody's been begging them to make the tires matter. The tires did matter tonight. They weren't good enough for Logano to stay out on 41 lap older tires. They weren't good enough for Larson to take 2 tires. They mattered. They made a difference in the race. The strategy was, Logano tried his best, but, I'm very happy with that. All right. We're all no problems here. So we agree on no problems so far. Now, you want to talk about the promoter's caution.
All right. I'm sitting back for this one.
No, because I don't really have a problem with the promoter's caution itself. Okay. I don't have a problem with, okay, we're going to call a random caution, whatever. Everybody knew it. It was a very, specific window for the most part. You knew it was going to be toward the end of that window in all likelihood. And you knew they were going to do it. There was no chance they weren't going to do it. So everybody knew what to expect. And they pretty much waited to the end of the window. And like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, but the way they did it, and which I'll get to in a minute, everybody watching at home knew it was a matter of time because they were just spending 20 laps or whatever, hyping it up. It was no surprise at all. So again, if Joey Logano's watching this, he's probably gonna be like, man, those guys freaking hate me, or they're all against me or something. It's not the case, but I don't understand. He's very upset about the caution itself, but it was like that seemed like it was more obvious than a lot of cautions we see. Yeah, I mean, it was
one way or another. You were going to get a caution in that window at that point because you're either going to get a natural caution, which would have wiped out the promoter's caution, or you were going to get a promoter's caution. So you knew basically once you crossed the lap 200 threshold, like you're getting one more caution one way or another, hands down.
Yeah, so I don't like how they did it. Look, I don't like how they did it, and I'm not going to go on a rant. I know you want me to like lose my mind.
No, I mean people in the comments want to get they're chanting rant, Jeff, rant.
I know, rant. and I would have if when I saw it on Twitter, live, I was already about to lose my crap. I don't need to stroke out here on air like I almost did.
Yes, you do. It would be entertaining. We're here for this.
I'm sure it would. There's hardly anybody left in this Indianapolis Media Center, and I would just be like here in the room dead until somebody came and got me the next morning and be like, oh, is that guy sleeping? Wow. That's anyway,
make for good entertainment.
That's fine for you. I'm sure that'd be a good clip for you. Yeah. Anyway, listen, I am here's my thing in general, so you know where I'm coming from. Okay, these are the highest. These people have worked their entire lives to get to the highest form of stock car racing in the United States. These are some of the most elite drivers in the world. Whether you want to say, well, F1, whatever, these are the best stock car drivers in the world. These are some of the most talented drivers in America and beyond, right? And I get that it's an exhibition race, and I get that, we want to have a little fun and spice it up and all this stuff. And I get we're going to do a little promoter's caution to make the race more interesting. But the way that they did this was just it was just the epitome of hokiness, of lameness, to have Michael Waltrip go up there and, do a little dance around and hyping up the crowd. Am I going to do it? Am I not? Am I going to do it? Am I not? You're just like, oh my, is this how we're doing this? Really? I mean, of all the months and all the ways that they had to come up with how they could have done this, whether it's, spinning some sort of a wheel like they do it at dirt track stuff, or, having a group of fans. Wouldn't it be cool if they had like a group of fans of one from each of the, major drivers, one from each driver, like get in a room and they have to decide, and they like put the white smoke up or something like the Pope.
NASCAR fans agree on anything, and you want them to agree on a competition.
What if there was a camera in there and like Chase Elliott fans are yelling at Logano fans? They're like, no, don't throw it right now. And they're like having a vote or something. I don't know. Like this was,
and that's not hokey.
Whatever. It was not as hokey as this. To then like, we're going to drop the yellow flag on the trap. Oh, Mikey, only Mikey. Oh, he dropped it just like he dropped the taco. He dropped the yellow flag. And, you're just like, it's clearly just all a stunt to fire fireworks for a caution. It's just like.
So you want less hokey, but you're willing to put fans in a room and have them argue it out or spin a wheel. Okay.
I just came up with this in 2 seconds. Okay. Like you had months to think of this. Whatever you're going to do, like do something, but not this. Don't make it into a skit. Don't make it into like some little WWE thing where they're dancing around in the ring. Let's take this seriously. Okay. I just watched these guys at Indianapolis Motor Speedway today, which we'll get into. The sheer bravery, the guts, the courage. You watch these guys and you're like, damn, this is freaking badass. And this was one car at a time, just going all out, right? And you're just like, this was like so pure, so incredible. I think that NASCAR should be talking about what great talented drivers they have and talking about let's make this serious. Like, let's take this with like, this is the all-star race, right? I know it's an exhibition. It doesn't matter. We don't have to make it into a joke though. It doesn't have to be a clown show. It doesn't have to be the circus. Why can't we take these guys seriously. Like, these guys deserve to be taken seriously. They really do. Like, let's talk about what badasses they are, and how excited we are to have in NASCAR some extremely talented world-class drivers. Look, Kyle Larson just came over to Indy, right? He's getting the world's attention by showing what NASCAR drivers can do. And it's super impressive, right? So, like, let's talk about that. Let's try to focus on that, and create a brand around that, rather than like this skit and the ha 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 and the lame humor. It's just, why are we doing this? It's just so unnecessary. That's just my thing. Okay.
Like, you're conflating a lot here, and you're trying to compare the All-Star race to the Indianapolis 500 qualifying. First of all, the All-Star race by nature is a gimmicked up race. And let me say this. I agree with you about the marketing overall, but that is not an all-star race thing. That is a NASCAR overall thing. I think NASCAR should market the drivers, as you said, in that they are brave. They're doing all these things. It's a diverse schedule, and they need to showcase their ability and how dangerous this is, and what the potential gravity of this is and how hard this is. 100%. Everyone on the marketing side, whether it's on the TV side, needs to do a better job of that. Absolutely. But to pull back from that and say, oh, we need to do this in the All-Star race, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the speed and all the sensation of that at North Wilkesboro of all places either. And this is a gimmicked up race by itself. You have gimmick cautions. You have all these different weird rules over the years. And so you can't compare the two. Yes, maybe it was, I will say that the Michael Waltrip thing, or is he going to 5 more laps or 10 more laps? Yeah, it was a little drawn out, and it could have been like, we could have had a little bit of the theatrics. We could have had less of it though. Okay. We didn't need all of that. But again, I'm not going to get too worked up about it. It's fine. I just don't see how you can compare the two. Yes, the drivers should be marketed as these brave drivers putting on the line. Absolutely. Because at fundamental core, that's what racing is, right? It goes about, there's this famous quote that's attributed to Ernest Hemingway that says, cliff diving, bull riding, and race car drivers are the only 3 pure sports. Everything else is just a game. And that needs to be pushed more, but you're not going to get that at this race. That's something you push at when you go to Kansas or Texas and you're pushing, whatever you are down the straightaway, or you go to Daytona or Talladega, not here at North Wilkesboro when you've got all these gimmicked up cautions. And like we just said, in the final 50 laps, you're going to get at least 1 caution. You just can't do that.
I just disagree. If we're talking about this is the best of the best, this is the all-star race, right? Like, let's show these guys, let's highlight what they're doing out there that makes them so special. Let's just, okay. And look, maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong here, but let's say when the Pro Bowl was still going on, right? Like, let's say you had all the best NFL players out there, and, they would never play defense. And I get all that, but let's say you had Rob Gronkowski suddenly dance out onto the field in a ref uniform, and he like had a yellow flag in his pocket, and he was like, am I going to throw it? Like in the middle of the play, like he's just kind of throwing it, like, am I going to throw it? And all of a sudden, like, somebody goes just back, throw a pass, and Rob Gronk is blowing his whistle, and he's throwing the flag, and it's like, oh, everybody's laughing or something.
They literally they stopped the Pro Bowl in its fundamental form because of it. Nobody was playing defense and no one would tackle. Like, they literally just went to play football.
I acknowledge that.
So, like,
I'm saying,
but that's what they did. They took it so unserious, they actually moved away from that. So that's a terrible example.
Because fans hated it. Fans hated that. So what I'm saying is, how would people, I don't think that's a good idea in any sport, to like minimize the sport, minimize the athletes, make it a joke. I just don't think why can't we? I'm not okay. Yeah, look, I'm the no fun police, I guess, but usual. I don't understand why in NASCAR there's such a problem with just talking about how awesome these guys are too. Like, why can't?
Agreed, but that's not an all-star race thing.
That you can make an all-star format that is exciting and entertaining to watch and highlights competition without making it a joke. There's a lot of things you can do. So I look, the older I get, I guess I'm just I don't know. I'm not entertained by that kind of stuff. I don't know, but it's not funny. Like I'm sorry, I'm spending too much time on this and it's stupid. I feel like an idiot, but I don't know. It's just my thing.
What do you want out of the All-Star race? Well, ideally, fundamentally, what do you want out of the All-Star race? Because that's the question I keep asking. Like, I got a bunch of text messages from people. They were kind of on the fence about the race at the beginning. And I was like, and I text them back. I'm like, what do you want out of this? What are you looking for? Because this is what it is. I mean, this is
I'll give you my format that I've said for years, but
I'm listening.
I'll just keep saying
I don't remember.
and then
what is it?
Okay. So you start the race. There's no guaranteed cautions, right? You start the race. It's like, say, like a 200 lap race.
Okay.
And only green flag laps count. Okay. So every 10 green flag laps, the last car on the track falls out of the race. They're eliminated. They did an elimination in the early 2000s, I believe, right?
Mid to yeah.
But that was before. I've said this a lot. This is how long I've been saying this. I think I even wrote this column in like NASCAR scene. This is how long I've been saying this format. This is before like Survivor was a big thing, where like eliminations were all the rage. I think that format was kind of ahead of its time. So every 10 laps, the last car on the track falls off. So yeah, you have the lead, and yeah, it's important to save your stuff and stay up there. But we're really focused on the drivers that we don't usually focus on because they're falling out of the race. They're battling hard for those last spots, all that stuff, right? So the field gets whittled down, and there'll be some cautions and there'll be all that stuff, but the field keeps getting whittled down. Now, when there's a certain amount of cars left, then you throw the flag. Maybe it's 4 cars, 2 rows, or whatever you want to do. And you basically have like a 5-lap shootout of these 4 remaining cars. Once you get down to the final 4, those are the only cars left on the track, and they just go all out. Those have been the best 4 cars of the race because they stayed up there all night, and that's whoever wins is the best. That's my format. It's a very simple thing.
1, love the idea. I think it's cool. I'm not opposed to it at all. 2, to sit there and call something hokey and then come back with this, like this could be by definition hokey as well. Like, this is what the All-Star race is again. So I like the idea.
I don't think it's hokey. I think it's a gimmick, but it's not hokey.
It's so
there's a difference between a gimmick and hokey.
It's treading a line, but okay. So I don't know. It's fine, but is that going to showcase NASCAR in its best form as you want it to? Is that going to show how these drivers are,
I don't know. I mean, I don't think any All-Star races. I mean,
but you just said how
this was good. This was good tonight.
You just said how you wanted the All-Star race to be like showcase these guys, and we need to promote these guys and how brave they are and everything. And then you just got done saying like you don't. So which one is it?
I don't know. I'm sorry you don't like the format. I like. What's your format?
I don't. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. This is what it is. Like you can throw anything you want out there. This is a non-points race in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter. Honestly, I'm okay with coming up every year with some random thing because it doesn't matter. Like, just be weird about it. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see an invert at one point. Honestly, I think raising the purse, I think maybe would change a little bit. Bubba Wallace had a media availability earlier this week, and I asked Bubba, I said, the All-Star race purse has been at $1 million since, I think, 2003. I said, would you like to see that change? And Ryan Blaney was there for a minute as well. And they're like, I mean, for $1 million, like he was like $1 million, I'd kind of think about things and maybe I'd put a bumper to somebody, but for $3 million, I'm moving somebody. Right. So I think honestly, jacking up the purse a little bit, I think would certainly have some raised stakes and make people do some things that maybe they wouldn't otherwise do.
Anything else from the format or the All-Star race or anything before we move on to Indy 500 qualifying? Got a lot to say about all that, of course.
I mentioned at the beginning, I just want to say it again. It's really cool that North Wilkesboro's back. I'm an old school person. I love my history of NASCAR. There was a time not too long ago that we never thought North Wilkesboro was even going to be open again. It felt like it should have been closed. It's back. It's thriving. Year 3, the crowd was here. I think it's really cool to see, and it's good to have a schedule with North Wilkesboro on it.
So you on last week's good race poll, we were so close. You ended up winning by half of a point. Half a point. So congrats on that one for Kansas. The score is now 8-5 me. But I don't know what people will say about this one. I mean, I think it was pretty a good race. I don't really see what people's problem would be with it. So I'm worried about guessing too high because I mean, what are people's issues going to be with it? I mean,
they're going to say passing. There wasn't a lot of passing necessarily and that kind of thing.
there wasn't a lot of passing. There was 18 lead changes. It was the most ever.
You know how people are. You know, when it comes to short tracks, it feels like they're almost kind of ingrained naturally to be critical of the next gen car on short tracks.
So they're just like, they hate the next gen and they hate short tracks with the next gen so much they're automatically going to vote no, even though it was actually a good race.
Exactly. It's like the 5% of people that did not like last spring at Kansas, you know?
Okay.
I think, let me ask, was this the most amazing race we ever saw? No. Was it the all-star race you ever seen? No. It probably wouldn't even crack the top 10, but it was still a pretty darn entertaining race. So I would be, if you don't like this, you're probably nitpicking a little bit, but I guess there's a case to be made. I don't see it, but sure.
All right. Are you ready to vote?
Nah, hang on.
All right. Well, while Jordan does that, I will say that coming up after this, stay tuned because not only are we going to be talking about the Indy 500 qualifications, but we also have the pole sitter, Robert Schwarzman, coming on the podcast. Did an interview with him a little bit ago, and we're going to play that in just a few minutes. But are you ready to vote?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I think it's pretty straightforward. No real tricks for me. I have 85.
Ooh, I had 73. I don't know if you can't really see it, but it's 73.
73. Wow. Yeah. So low.
Yeah,
I
probably
guess I'm too high. I don't know.
No, I think you're probably right. I probably went too low.
I mean, I'm probably wrong. I mean, I didn't get to watch the first half of the race because I was, here doing interviews and watching the qualifying and stuff. So maybe I missed, but it just seemed like it was good. And I mean, there was 3 wide for a while for the lead and, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, track position did matter. I mean, they talked about on the broadcast a little bit, probably before you joined in, like Brad Keselowski started on the pole. And they said he doesn't have the fastest car, but he has track position and he was hard to pass. And it was
I saw that,
so I think that would be where some people would come in on this. So I think you're probably right. I think I should have gone higher, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know.
I hope I'm wrong.
All right. What was the reaction? Was there any reaction there to Kyle Larson? The crowd was.
Honestly, admittedly, I didn't even know he was here. Like I was on the grid talking to somebody, and I looked over and I went, "Oh, there's Kyle Larson." I'm like that. So there wasn't it wasn't the pomp and circumstance of a year ago where the helicopter landed and people were cheering it and then the ride into the track.
Oh yeah, well he wasn't here today, so that's
that's it. So there was no, I didn't pay any attention during the drivers' intros on who was getting cheered or whatnot. So
okay, yeah, obviously Larson did not make the top 12. He what had happened was, so for those of you who haven't paid close attention, Larson crashed in practice. He had a clean week going after crashing in the test in April. Then when on Fast Friday, that's when they turn up their turbo boost. And if you want more horsepower, Indy gives it to you because they give them 100 more horsepower just for qualifying, right? So that raises the speeds by about 10 miles an hour. And as if driving an Indy car around here at 220 miles an hour on the edge isn't enough, 230 miles an hour plus is what they start going. And so this year in Indy, they have these new hybrid units in the back of the car that add over 100 pounds. And the drivers, it's a little bit less stable. It's a little bit different feeling for them, I think. Plus, it was really windy. And so not only Larson, as we saw, but many drivers were having very hard hits going airborne, like tremendous wrecks, really scary, tremendous wrecks here throughout the weekend. Larson, though, on Fast Friday, I think on like his third lap of trying to get up to speed for qualifying practice, with the turbo boost turned up, he wrecks, right? And so when he finally got the car fixed and all that stuff, and went back out, what happened was they had him really, they had a lot of downforce on his car to just give him a nice stable run, right? It had to be like, all right, we're gonna have a smooth, stable run. We don't want you to wreck, nothing crazy. And so he had a slow time. He went back out again, and it was a little faster. He qualified 21st, but that still wasn't what they wanted. He was in line then to go out and try to make the top 12. Unfortunately, he just ran out of time, and he wasn't even close to the front of the line. And he seemed relieved by that, because he's like, "This is sketchy. I'm good. I don't want to go back out for another one." And by the way, even if he had made the top 12, if he had made the Fast 6 day, he would have had to leave to go to North Wilkesboro. So he would have just left his car in 6. But it didn't seem like he had a fast enough car anyway this week. Although who ended up actually winning the pole, Robert Schwarzman, certainly didn't. This is one of the great stories that we've seen in a long time at Indy in qualifying. Robert Schwarzman, former F1 prospect. He was a Ferrari reserve driver for like 4 years. He got in like 6 F1 practices. They'd sprinkle him in, and he'd do a fine job, but he never got the promotion. He never got the call up to F1, essentially, right? Part of that is he had Russian nationality, switched to Israeli nationality, where he was born in Tel Aviv when the whole Russian sanctions came out, right? So like when after the Ukraine invasion, they said Russian drivers, so he switched, but I think that he felt like that hurt his F1 prospects. So he ends up coming over here, and he's with Prema, which is, a team in the lower ranks of the F1 ladder, F2, stuff like that, which he ran for. They start a brand new IndyCar team here. He's obviously not only a rookie, Robert Schwarzman, he's never even driven an oval in any series in his life. This is his first oval action. And he goes out and he wins the pole for the Indy 500, which is like one of the hardest things to do. The pole for the Indy 500 here is regarded as like bigger than any race win except the Indy 500 itself in the rest of IndyCar. Like, it is a massive deal to be on the edge when they turn up the boost like that. It is so hard. And Schwarzman and Prema pulled off this amazing thing. So let's go ahead now and take a listen. I got to talk to Robert Schwarzman for 10 minutes. I talked to him about what he knows about NASCAR, talked to him about what exactly he accomplished, how his head's still spinning. It was a really fun interview. I hope you guys stick around for it. Let's go ahead and give it a listen. We're here with the pole sitter for the Indianapolis 500, Robert Schwarzman. Quite a surprise to you included, I think. I have to say, I come from the land of NASCAR, the land of oval racing. So we're not really used to even rookies in NASCAR coming up to speed so quickly. Here you are at the Indy 500 going out and getting the pole. I mean, just what a surreal experience for you.
I mean, honestly, I can't believe it myself at this stage. It's the first experience. First of all, when I drove the car for the first time on oval, I was like, this is really fast. Like, it's just unbelievable fast how you feel it. And obviously, oval racing I've seen only from TV, like NASCAR. Like you say, you come from NASCAR. I was playing video games of NASCAR, watching just some videos on the TV, but nothing even close to experience in real life. And here we go straight to Indy 500, the fastest. Let's say I think it's the fastest race in the world in terms of like speed. And you just jump in, and it's just like you're doing 230 mile an hour, and you're like, this is really fast. So, and my approach was just keep it safe. Like, don't do mistakes, because it's easy at this speed on these places to lose confidence. And if you have an unfortunate crash or something happens, you can't get back to the same speed as you were. So I was like, take it easy, smooth approach, don't rush things up. And by step, we arrived to a stage where the car was so good that I managed to take pole.
Yeah, but okay, here's what I don't get, right? Like, so Oscar Piastri, your former teammate in F2, he was, he was one of the most recent guys that got asked about running the Indy 500 in F1. He's like, no way, like those guys are crazy, kind of thing. Like, I'm not going to do that. Here, you come over here. I mean, you were recently over there. This apparently didn't scare you at all because you were able to go out there and do something that just blew our minds. Like, why? Where did this bravery come from? Why were you not scared to oval racing when so many of your counterparts seem to be?
Well, don't get me wrong. I was and I am scared of this. Like, you have to be scared of this track. Like, you have to respect the Indy 500. That's where you still have to have this, knowledge and feeling that, this track can damage a lot. So you have to know that, you have to respect it, and you have to keep it under control. So, and that's where I think also from my side, I was rewarded by the Indy that I managed to keep it under control, under this thin line of balance. Obviously with Oscar, we've been teammates. We were battling in F2 for the championship. He managed to take it from me. I mean, he did an amazing job, and he well deserved. Absolutely no comment on that side. It was really nice battle, and I said to Oscar, I want a rematch. I want to go again, and unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to go to Formula One, which I would really hope for. I was waiting there. I was being reserved for Ferrari, but still never happened that they would allow me to go in for, let's be honest, for political reasons mainly. And I was like, Oscar, and I was like, at some point I think we were having a dinner later, and I was like, man, at the moment you're going to leave Formula One, we need to go to some series. And again, I need a rematch. I don't care where it's going to be. So maybe one day, hopefully, the guy is going to come here to Indy and he's going to experience himself this oval racing and what it feels like. And I'm sure that even if he's saying that now he's scared and, we're crazy, I'm sure when he's going to come here and try it, he's going to love it.
Well, I mean, if he sees what you do, he's like, getting some confidence and say like, yeah, he wants that rematch. You mentioned NASCAR. I have to ask, like, so what do you know anything about it? Like, if you said you watched the races or played video games?
I watched quite a bit when Jeff Gordon was dominating those years, the car 24. Then there was Kyle Busch, I think.
Kyle Busch, yep.
Yeah, that was Kurt Busch.
His brother.
His brother. And then I stopped. I was just like, I was too focused on Formula One, European racing. So I was like, I just lost it a bit, the vibe, but it was just funny. There was still some races and some funny moments, like I don't know who it was, but this guy who had this funny meme where he's like, I'm gonna floor it and I'm not gonna lift my throttle until I see checker flag or God, like that thing, that the one that went on the wall. Like these moments, I still see it. And at some point, I also remember there was one of the guy who I'm friends with, is Daniel Kvyat, if you remember.
Yeah.
He also did
he came over and ran a start. Yep.
Yeah, so and I asked him how fun it was, and he was like, it was really fun. The NASCAR racing, it's really fun. So you never know. Maybe I will also experience that, because I've experienced in my career, I think, everything apart from probably NASCAR, because I've done Formula One, I've done all the junior categories, so the F2, F3, F4. I've done Formula E, WEC, GTs, and now IndyCar. So you never know.
Okay, I'm just saying, with your oval prowess here, they'll giving you a call. So, what's your biggest concern about managing an oval race? You're for your first time, maybe some of the drivers, if they're listening to this, could give you a ring or give you a call or something from NASCAR and help you manage this race coming up next week. What are you worried about?
I mean, obviously, the strategy, because the race is long. It's 200 laps, and the question is, how should I be aggressive in terms of defending? Should I even defend? Should I just stay in the front, back? What's the general approach? Because whenever you start, well, my experience, whenever I start from the pole position in a normal racetrack, I knew that if, for example, I'm not entirely sure that the car is really, really fast, I have to be ready to battle, to defend. I can't let anybody by, because otherwise I won't be able to regain this position. So I had already a strategy in my head. If obviously I have a strong car, then I would take less risks. And even if somebody sent it at the start, I would just let him by, because I knew I will get the position back. Here, that's the first thing that I need to know is what is the mentality? Should I just, from the beginning, take it easy, get a couple cars in front of me, just follow them and just stick to that. Also, some advices on lines, because here it seems to be quite hard to have a double line. You have to still stick behind. Obviously, I have a really experienced guy called Ryan Briscoe who have done that, so we definitely will have a lot of homework to do to prepare me for the race. But if there is any tips and tricks that NASCAR can bring to IndyCar and to me, I'm down to listen, because most of their races is actually oval, so if not all. So for sure.
So we have NASCAR driver Kyle Larson, obviously, in the field. He qualified 21st, and a lot of the NASCAR fans saw where he was like, "Man, this is sketchy. Like, I don't even want to go out for another run because, like, I don't want to risk wrecking the car." You said after one of your first qualifying runs the other day, or I guess it was yesterday. It's all blurring together. How mentally taxing this was, and you've run 6 F1 practice sessions, as the reserve driver spots that you got to do, the young driver spots. And I would think that those were just massive pressure because you're trying to prove yourself and make sure that you don't destroy the car and stuff. And you said this was, at least qualifying wise, this was more mentally taxing. Can you explain to someone who's never been in this position what kind of drain it is to go out there and do what you just did?
I think there is quite important factors to separate. Yeah, of course, the Formula One, whenever I was driving, it was also under a lot of pressure because there is a lot of media. You have to show yourself really good. And there were luckily good FP1s that I've shown, even though I was a rookie. But at that stage, the worst can happen is you do a mistake, you crash the car. You're not going to hurt yourself because it's not those speeds and it's quite safe overall. Yeah, people will say, okay, he's a rookie, he did a mistake, he put it in a wall, okay, whatever. And that's it. Here, first things first, because we're a new team, we didn't have a spare car. So this is the only car I would have for the whole, let's say, weekend. So I have to take care of it. And the car is fast, the car is good. So, that's already the first thing that gives you more pressure. It's just take care of the car. Second, if there is anything that can happen, it's going to really hurt. Like, I've seen guys coming out, like yesterday, Marcus and Colton, man, you can see that they were not feeling good. Even though luckily they're safe, they're all good. But you can see that the impact, the hit is strong. So overall, that is another thing on top that is giving you this pressure. And the third one is when you go that fast, every slight little move can cost you everything. Like, you have to be so precise, so focused on everything that is going on that you just, which is 5 minutes, the whole run. And it's like 4 laps, but you have to every second take control of the things. You cannot just breathe okay, I have a straight, I can chill now. No, it's always like I have to hold it, and you have to be always ready if something happens to sort of play with it. And here is 4 laps. It's not 1 lap. In Formula One, you go out there, okay, you have new tires, already you have 1 lap. Okay, you do it, whatever you did, fine. Here is 4 laps. Just keep holding on, and you don't know how the tires are gonna last, how the degradation, how the car is gonna behave. So every lap, it's a new lap. And that's why it's incredibly demanding mentally to drive like in quali, because we are driving, all of the guys, we're driving on the edge. Like, there is no excuse. Yeah, somebody have a faster car, somebody have a slower car, but we're all giving our best. And it's just incredible how difficult and challenging it is.
And you did it. You beat all these guys and were the fastest over 4 laps. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not only me, it's the team, it's Chevy, it's all of us together combined that we managed to do it.
Well, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Jordan, that was pretty cool to have him on there. Good to talk to him. Obviously, I never met him before. Didn't really know much about him, except I'd known his name from a couple of those sessions that we've seen in F1 running those like rookie sessions and stuff. But pretty cool story, huh?
Really cool story. It's one of those things you're following it along, and I'm watching your tweets and I'm watching some other people's tweets, and I'm at the track today trying to keep up on everything, and I'm like, Pato's up there and Palou's up there, and the Penske cars at one time were up there until they had their issues, and it was like, oh, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, this was not on my bingo board, but you mentioned this earlier, and you're right. Like, Indy is just, it's a showcase, man. Like, to go there and to put 4 consecutive laps at that speed and those conditions together, I don't know if people really. I think people appreciate it, but I don't know if they appreciate it maybe to the full extent, because it is so hard to do, and the danger that these guys have, and you saw it today, and to go there with no oval track experience and a brand new team, and to throw down 4 laps that takes out all of those guys who drive for McLaren and Penske and Ganassi. Like, yeah, it's like you just tip your cap and you're like, wow. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
I mean, there's just the bravery we've saw, like Marcus Armstrong and Colton Herta, both who had, wild wrecks yesterday, both got into the show. They like Colton Herta yesterday after he flipped over and it was like, oh geez, like this could be really bad. They went to a backup car and he stuck his car in the show. He didn't have to go to bump day. Like it was crazy. And Marcus Armstrong as well was able to go through bump day today and make it. It's just like, and Colton Herta said, I'm not scared of this place. Like I'll get back in and go flat out right now. Like it was just like, damn. I mean, it's just a different breed than I could ever imagine being, for sure. But
and that's the wild thing. And you said is you get into one of these harrowing accidents and you see these guys, and McLaughlin got out of his car today, and he's just like, you can just see the I mean, not really the fit. I mean, he walked away, but still, it was like it took a toll on him to some degree. And it's like, wow. And then to get back in that car, hours later, that is a next level thing right there.
Well, we had a little bit of a cheating scandal today, Jordan. Seemed like, anyway. I don't know.
This is becoming a recurring thing for Penske on the IndyCar side, by the way.
Ooh, this was a spicy one.
Not a good look when your team owner owns a series.
This was a spicy one too. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Penske had a front row lockout last year at Indy, right? They were 1, 2, 3, had the whole front row. And everybody, you talk to all the drivers and they're saying, man, those Penske cars look good again. There's probably going to be at least 2 of them on the front row. The Penske cars are going to be tough to beat. Well, McLaughlin, he was the pole sitter last year, and he, with his wreck, he took himself out essentially. So, but there were still 2 Penske cars that were going to be in the Fast 12. They'd qualified for the Fast 12. Joseph Newgarden, the 2-time defending IndyCar champion, he's going to be the first
Indy
guy.
500 champion.
Indy 500 champion. They're trying to be the first person to win 3 Indy 500s in a row. Sure. And Will Power, former Indy 500 champion himself. They are in line. Now, this is what Doug Bowles, we got the, how we always go to NASCAR and hear from the officials after controversy. We got that for IndyCar today, because sometimes I don't feel like you don't always hear about tech inspection stuff in IndyCar. No. Failing tech, failing inspection.
Certainly
we got
it
today,
though.
Yep. So, it's like a weekly occurrence in NASCAR.
Ooh, yeah.
So Doug Bowles, who, he's the IMS president, but now he's also, over IndyCar as well. We got to hear from him about what happened. So basically they're trying to get these top 12 cars through tech, right? Will Power comes through. They notice on his attenuator in the back of the car, there's a little odd thing, right? It's kind of bonded together in pieces. They're supposed to be separate pieces.
Yep.
And they're like filled in, glued together a little bit, bonded together. So the tech inspector actually passes them, but he's like, keeping a mental note, like, okay, we're trying to keep things through here. It's irregularity. I'm going to keep an eye on that.
I mean, a violation is a violation.
They said that they were just trying to get them to the pit lane, but they could go back and get it. Like they weren't done with it necessarily. He wasn't cleared. They said they could, reserving the right to inspect at any time. Anyway, a few more cars come, according to Doug Bowles, and then Joseph Newgarden's car comes through, and the inspector notices the same thing on that car. Now, they did tech these cars yesterday. And I asked Doug Bowles, was this seen yesterday? His answer was, this was detected today. So we don't know if they had these on yesterday when they made the top 12. Pato or O'Ward says they absolutely had to have this yesterday. For sure they had this yesterday. And in fact, they those cars should have been in the last chance qualifier. They should have gone to bump day because that's how they got to the top 12 is contention, right? And like people like Connor Daly, our peer here at Dirty Mo Media, host Speed Street, he barely missed out on the top 12. He qualified 13th.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, these two cars ahead of me don't get to run because they have a technical violation. Shouldn't I get it to be in there? IndyCar rules say they almost view it differently. Like once you get in the top 12, they're not taking their starting spots away. They're not sending them to the back. They're just dropping them to 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Doesn't that incentivize guys to maybe push rules a little bit to
did they get away with it yesterday? We don't know. IndyCar doesn't know. They didn't see it if they did it. So did Scott McLaughlin's car have this on it? Tim Cindric told reporters no. Tim Cindric also told reporters, according to Bob Pockris and Nathan Brown from IndyStar, that they were doing this to make the cars look better, not for a aero advantage.
Perfect. Okay.
So that's their contention, but we don't know that, right? So anyway, but yeah, so they're saying, Doug Bowles says, look, we can only drop them to 12. We can't drop them any further than that because they made the top 12. We view it separately. So these cars are going to start on row 4, but Doug Bowles did say we do reserve the right to penalize them after the weekend, like in terms of a monetary fine. I said, could you take points? He said, probably, yeah. It sounded like more of a monetary fine. But he said, we'll look at our options. So
what incentive is to me? There's no biting. There's no teeth. There's no teeth in this. Like what? You can push the rules. Like Chad Knaus is somewhere hearing this, going, "Man, this is kind of intriguing. Maybe I should go over to like IndyCar and I can have some fun."
That's what Pato O'Ward is.
Yeah, like he's right. Yeah. Like you can kind of skirt the rules a little bit. Lock yourself in the top 12.
One of these guys should have been on bump day. One of these guys, he's saying they cheated 100%. To get there, essentially, right?
So and then at the end of the day, you may slap our wrist and take some money out of our pocket. Okay, cool. Who do we write the check out to?
Yeah, By the way, the guy owns the series, so it's a big.
I mean, it's a bad.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
When that is the rub when you have somebody who owns a series and also fields cars. And I think there's a belief of you church and state need to be separate. And I think this is an indication of why.
Well, at least they pulled him out of line and penalized him and said.
At least they did that. So that is good.
They told, according to Doug Bowles, the inspector then told them, okay, you can either we will capture you guys as basically like some of the randoms afterward, and we'll fail you for tech. So you can go run for qualifying if you want, and we'll fail you, or you can just pull yourselves out of line now and not run. And so the two Penske cars just removed themselves from line and went back to the garage, and that was it.
But that's cool. They still start top 12, which is more than reasonable. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just these things always come back, and all three Penske cars theoretically should be contenders come next Sunday. If one wins the race, though, there's going to be this cloud of that's the unfortunate thing. And even if their cars pass tech, there's still going to be people like, oh man, wonder what they're getting away with. It just sometimes it creates a very uncomfortable situation.
Yep. Well, Jordan, I will be seeing you shortly in Charlotte. Yes. I'm visiting to vote for the NASCAR Hall of Fame tomorrow, or Tuesday. So that will be we'll see who gets in.
Any preview or anything on which way you're leaning?
I mean, I'll tell you, I'm pretty rock solid. I'm going to vote for Kurt Busch for one of them.
Okay.
I mean, the other ones I'll listen to, but I'm not going to not vote for a guy that has over 30 wins in a championship.
100%. I agree. Won the Daytona 500, won the Coke 600. Like you said, 30 wins, Cup champion. And I don't think people realize he has made every team he's with better organizationally. Denny Hamlin had said this about Kurt this week of he came to 23-11, Kurt did, and he put structures in place of this is how we need to do things if you guys want to achieve the level you want to be at, that they still use to today. And I think that he deserves credit for that. So I hear, what's your other picks?
I don't know yet. No, I'll listen. I'll keep an open mind to what people are talking about in the room. But I mean, look, I think I don't know that Kurt. I don't know how the room will view.
It's going to be interesting,
Kurt, because he may have been the biggest jerk at times that I ever covered of any driver. I mean, earlier in his career, obviously, he mellowed by the end, but at times it was like, man, this guy is. I think so. He made a lot of enemies, certainly. So will some people? I'm going to publicize my ballot. Will some people that don't, publicize their ballot just be like, I'm not voting for this guy? No way. You know what I mean? I mean, we've never seen a unanimous. Jimmy Johnson wasn't unanimous,
which is ridiculous.
So
absolutely ridiculous.
There's some people that have their own reasons for doing things. So I would think that he would get in, but I'm certainly voting for him. And I don't care how he was.
Yeah.
His career speak for itself. So
100%.
That's the one I'm rock solid on. And
numbers are the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. And yeah, so we'll see. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, later in the week, though, I'm sad that I'm leaving Charlotte to come back to the Indy 500 because you are going to be at JRM Fan Day.
Yeah.
Doing a show.
Yeah.
Is that right? Tell us about it.
They're going to be joining Freddie Kraft and Carson Eldred. We're going to be on the fans. Eldridge. I said that, didn't I? What did I say? Anyway. Yeah, we're going to be at JRM Fan Day. They're going to do their thing, and we're going to be out there on a stage for about 45 minutes to an hour and doing a meet and greet and all the fun things. So it'll be good.
How did the Dirty Mo Media put out a graphic for this JRM Fan Day live show? And like Dale Jr.'s in the picture. And Freddie's in the picture. Right? And Amy Earnhardt and Carson. And somehow you got in the center. You got the center billing of the picture.
They've got good taste, obviously.
Dale Jr.
And listen, you want to put the prettiest man front and center. I mean, Jeff, that's just how these things go. You want to put the person that's going to like, whoa, who is that? So of course, naturally, they're going to put me front and center. Why would they not?
I'm like, are they trying to like not get people to come? Like, by the way, Jordan.
It's the other way around. It's like, oh, who's that man? Oh yeah, we need to be there. I don't know what this is, but we need to be there because we need to see him in person.
Unbelievable. As if your ego needed a bigger boost. Anyway, so listen, everybody, programming note, because we did this last year as well. We can't. Well, I shouldn't say we can't because Jordan will correct me. I can't do a podcast after the Coke 600 next week.
No dedication.
There's no way. I'm sorry, I can't.
No way. You just aren't committed.
I will be waking up at 3:30 or 4 a.m. and getting to Indy before 5 a.m. And if I make it to the end of the Coke 600, that'll be a miracle.
Take some caffeine.
So to stay up and do a podcast after that in the middle of the night when you're done with your longest race of the year an hour after the winners come in or whatever. Sorry, I can't. So anyway, Monday, I don't know what time. We'll tell you.
In the morning.
Figure it out. Sometime Monday morning, I don't know, 10 a.m. Monday or something. Everybody's off work anyway. So you're not going to need us for your Monday morning commute as much as
well.
usual.
You could stay up and sleep in the next day.
Anyway, we will be coming to you live. Hopefully we'll do a live stream, a Memorial Day weekend hangover live stream. And we will recap both of the races, I guess in Monaco too, that we will be watching next week. And by the way, we have a ton of, if I can just plug The Athletic for a minute, we have so much great stuff coming, in my opinion. By the way, I loved your article, first of all, on the security guys, one former Secret Service guy, one FBI guy who breaking up the fights. Now I know why you don't want to mess with them, and the drivers be like, get out of my way.
Do not mess with them.
You want to mess with them. So go read that on The Athletic. But we've got features. I talked to Joseph Newgarden for 15 minutes the other day about why is he so enthusiastic about telling everybody he's going, I want to win 3 in a row. I want to win 3 in a row. He's not shying away from it at all. Like he's just like, oh, I'm all about it. We've got a 12 questions interview with Kyle Larson out now. 12 questions interview with Alex Palou, the points leader, coming out. I talked to Will Buxton for about 30 minutes, the play-by-play voice of IndyCar, coming over from F1 and Drive to Survive. Why did he leave F1? Why did he leave his career in F1 to completely leave it behind and go to IndyCar to join Fox? So I have an article coming about that. Article talking to some of the NASCAR drivers about why they're rooting for Larson. He's carrying the banner for them. Whole bunch of stuff coming. We have our colleague Madeline Coleman did a feature on Pato Award. So for all the IndyCar fans who are just like, you don't cover enough IndyCar, we got you this week. And of course, Jordan will be at the 600 as well. I'll be at the 500. And we have two writers, Madeline and Luke Smith, at Monaco. So the Athletic will be covering all three races for the last Motorsports Christmas. Last one ever coming up this weekend, because Monaco's moving to June after this, you guys.
Yeah.
So our tradition of waking up and doing all three, it's going to be gone. So it'll just be the double. We'll just do the double from now on this day. There won't be an F1 race conflicting with the Indy 500. So, but anyway, we'll be back to talk about it all on Monday, next Monday after on Memorial Day.
Sunday night, if someone was puffing up Buttercup, but that's cool.
Not me.
You're all on the West Coast anyway. Like you should be used to like this.
I'm on the West Coast.
Well, you live on the West Coast. So you should be, used to, getting up.
I think you're not mathing correctly. Anyway, everybody, thanks as always for listening, and we will talk to you next time on the Teardown. See you, everybody.